People tend to think that Nomad Capitalist takes rather contrarian views. You may agree, many people won't agree. We talk about living overseas, legal tax reduction, investing in emerging markets. A lot of people say, this stuff just doesn't make sense to me. They don't feel comfortable with it. But what's funny to me is my very first contrarian deal that people didn't feel comfortable with was not in some emerging market, but rather the United States. Hey, I'm Andrew Henderson, and this is the story of how I purchased my very first home. This was a home in the United States. I had been running my business for a number of years. I had moved from Ohio to Arizona, briefly out to California, back to Arizona, and I was doing a decent amount of travel, not only for my business domestically, going and meeting different people, but I had started to my Nomad Capitalist journey of traveling around the world and trying to explore all the different options that were available, the things that we talk about now. But finally I decided, you know what, let me buy a place. Interest rates are insanely low. Why not, make the investment in my own home? And so I bought a home in the Phoenix, Arizona area in 2011. And I got an incredible deal. Even as I travel around the world right now and I see what that same amount of money would buy, I think to myself, wow, that was like a really great deal for a home that was really close to a huge university, had lots going on in the area. It was an incredible deal. But it happened in 2011, and the month that I bought it, actually I lucked into the fact that it was the worst month on record. I'd been monitoring the real estate market for a year, saying, wow, things are really bad, things are bad. They kept getting worse. Finally, I said, wow, these deals are just incredible. And I pulled the trigger, and the month I closed was the worst month in the market. What's interesting is that people, even though they understood the market, my friends lived nearby, had family, everyone understands, if they're from the United States, they understand the United States real estate market. It's not like go to Cambodia and what if the king takes your real estate? People have that fear about going to other countries. So people didn't really have the fear of the jurisdiction, buying in the United States. But people had the fear of, what if it goes down further? Or, what if something happens? There's just lots of what I would say are irrational fears. And so a lot of people said, maybe you should wait, maybe you don't want to buy now. And I found that very interesting. I later sold the home a few years later, after I'd already left the United States, for a pretty good return, I think 50 or 60% return. What's even more interesting is the people who bought it after I did, or people who bought it from me, later sold it for another 50 or 60% return. And what's funny is now, everyone is clamoring to buy U.S. real estate. Everyone's saying, Andrew, why don't you come back and buy some U.S. real estate now that prices are overheated and that house is worth more than double what I paid for it not so many years ago. And that's an interesting thing about our psychology as investors. Everyone wants to get in at the top. My father was in the money management business, and back in the late 90s, before the crash, we get calls from some of his clients saying, let's buy these high-flying tech stocks that once traded at $8. They're now $800. We got to get in. He'd say, really? Yeah, we got to get, well, it's okay. And, we all know what happened next. People like to buy high. And what interests me in the context of Nomad Capitalist is so many people who don't really understand what we do come and say, you're investing in Georgia, you're an idiot, or Cambodia, good luck losing your money, or how could you possibly make these kinds of returns that you say are possible? And to me, that makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. People told me, don't start a business. They said, don't start a business in the broadcasting industry. They said, don't start a business about something that you don't know. I bought a couple businesses and industries I didn't really know that well. People said, okay, it's nice you took a trip to Norway, but don't travel anymore. My entire life, people have been telling me, don't drop out of college. What are you going to do with your life? How are you going to ever progress? Almost everything that the average person has told me, and even some smart people have told me, quite frankly, has turned out to be wrong. And I think if you're going to be successful, you have to have an intuition. If this stuff feels like it's not right to you, then maybe it's not right for you. But I can tell you is So many irrational fears out there stop people from investing. If you look at the trajectory and the fact that in Cambodia there hasn't been a recession in well over 2 decades, you would think, oh, that's a relatively, safe place to invest. If you apply the same standard that people are now using in the United States, where, housing prices have been on an upward swing for 7 or 8 years. But somehow people don't make the connection. And what I found on an international level is people will always have an excuse. This is a human trait. People always have an excuse to justify anything. Why don't I want to go to my sister's birthday party? I'll find an excuse. Why don't I want to invest in an emerging market? It doesn't have to be Cambodia. I just use that as an example. There are plenty of them out there. If you don't want to do it, you can find an excuse. But what I've really found working with hundreds of people and hearing from many, many thousands of you is it really is often just that. If you match up the data that you see in emerging markets and you match up the data on better taxes and better opportunities, higher yields, those things are all facts. And then you go and compare it to the market that you're familiar with, the United States. It's interesting to see that fear often still reigns. Fear is the issue to get over. And while you may have gotten over investing in your own country, if you want to be successful, diversifying internationally, it's something you're going to need to do again. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how